Have you ever found yourself trusting a new business, like instantly, just because a friend vouched for them?
Yeah, it happens all the time, right?
Or maybe wondered why some companies seem to grow almost, well, effortlessly, attracting clients without constantly blasting ads everywhere?
Exactly. It feels like magic sometimes.
Well, today we're taking a deep dive into referral marketing. It's this really powerful engine for business growth, but honestly, it's often overlooked or uh, maybe just misunderstood.
Hmm.
As we'll unpack today, it's actually one of the most straightforward and, yeah, effective ways to not just grow, but to really accelerate things.
Absolutely. And our mission today is simple, really. We want to cut through some of those common myths and, the psychological hangups that stop businesses from fully jumping into referrals.
Good, because there seem to be quite a few.
There are. We're going to show you why referred clients are just, well, fundamentally different, and how setting up systems to get them can genuinely transform your growth path.
So get ready for some, I think, pretty eye-opening insights and maybe some surprising facts, too.
Mm.
Stuff that will definitely shift how you think about building real, lasting business growth.
Okay, then, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
We talk about trust all the time in business, right? But what does that actually mean, in a practical sense for a customer going through their journey? And how does it, develop?
That's such a crucial starting point because trust really is the foundation.
Yeah.
Technically, you could define it as, being willing to be vulnerable to someone else's actions, expecting they'll do something important for you, even if you can't watch them.
Okay, that sounds a bit academic.
It does, yeah.
Mhm.
But what it boils down to is it's a leap of faith, right? And it's not like a switch you just flip. Trust builds up piece by piece.
How so?
Well, research consistently points to a few things. Consistent positive experiences, obviously, showing you actually know what you're doing, your ability.
Right. Competence. Competence, yeah. Plus things like genuine goodwill, integrity, being transparent in how you operate, and really importantly, just being reliable, doing what you say you'll do.
Okay, that makes sense. But here's where I think it gets really interesting. You're saying there isn't just one kind of trust.
Exactly. That's the key distinction we need to make. There are really two distinct types: interest trust and purchase trust.
Interest trust.
What's that? So, interest trust is like the baseline. It's the minimum level of confidence someone needs just to even listen to you, to be open to your message.
Hmm.
It's about them believing your company has integrity, some expertise, that you're credible. You build this kind of trust through your marketing, your reputation, testimonials, maybe being seen as a thought leader. It's about building that initial relationship, getting them interested.
Okay, so that gets them listening.
Yeah.
What's purchase trust then? How's that different?
Purchase trust goes much, much deeper. This is the confidence someone needs to actually pull the trigger to make the buying decision,
Oh, okay.
the trust to actually commit. Precisely. It's the belief that your product or service will genuinely deliver what they need, solve their problem, basically be worth the investment. This is the level of trust that gets someone to, pull out their credit card.
And this is where referral marketing just changes the whole game, right? Because it slams the accelerator on that journey from just being interested to actually buying.
Absolutely. It shortens it dramatically when a recommendation comes from someone you already know and trust.
Like a friend or colleague.
Yeah, that purchase trust can basically be instantaneous. It's like you skip all those intermediate steps of doubt and research.
Wow. Instant purchase trust.
Think about it in your own life. How often do you just buy something because a friend you trust raved about it?
Pretty often, actually, compared to finding something from a random ad.
Right. With that random ad, you might spend ages, maybe weeks, maybe months, looking into it, comparing, thinking it over.
Yeah, definitely.
That's the power we're talking about, which, leads to a big question for any business listening.
Yeah.
How do you get more of that instant trust happening?
Yeah, and I think that's where some hurdles come up. A lot of businesses seem to think referrals are, I don't know, really hard to get.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe they just assume they'll happen naturally, like magic, without any real plan. And that mindset can really hold back growth, can it?
Oh, definitely. It's a huge barrier. And there's actually a pretty deep psychological reason, even a sociological one, why customers hesitate, even if they totally love what you offer.
Really? What is it?
It's this idea of the potential social cost. Think about it. If you recommend something to a friend and it turns out to be, well, rubbish.
Oh, yeah. You feel bad. You look bad.
Exactly. Nobody wants to be that person, the one whose recommendation flopped. It puts their own judgment, their own reputation on the line with their friend or colleague.
That makes so much sense. Especially, I guess, if the brand is kind of new.
Precisely. If a brand is new or relatively unknown, people might be a bit more cautious, a bit fidgety about sticking their neck out until they're absolutely sure about the quality.
Okay, so that social cost is a real hurdle to overcome. But let's flip it. If you do manage to get those referrals coming in consistently, what's the actual payoffs? What makes these referred clients so, I don't know, special?
So what? Well, the payoff is immense because referred customers behave fundamentally differently. They're just better clients, frankly.
Oh, so is there data on this?
Oh, yes. Solid research. For starters, they tend to be more pleasant to deal with, often easier to negotiate with. But here's a big one. They buy more.
Yeah.
Significantly more. Studies show they spend about 25% more in their very first purchase compared to people who found you through other means.
Wow, 25% more right off the bat.
Right off the bat. And it doesn't stop there. They're also more likely to come back, about 18% more likely to make repeat purchases.
So they're stickier, more loyal.
Exactly. They stick around longer, they buy more often, which means they have a much higher customer lifetime value, the total amount they're worth to your business over time.
Okay, higher CLV makes sense. Lower churn, more loyalty.
Right. Less attrition. And maybe the most critical point for many businesses. They cost essentially nothing to bring into your business.
Nothing in terms of acquisition cost, you mean?
Correct. All that money you might spend on ads, on marketing campaigns to attract a cold lead, you bypass that entirely with a referred client. They arrive pre-sold, pre-trusted.
It's incredibly powerful when you put it all together.
Mm-hmm.
Pleasant, spend more, buy more often, stay longer, cost nothing to acquire. It's not just anecdotal then.
Not at all. This is all backed up by solid scientific research across different industries. The evidence is really quite compelling.
Okay, so the value is undeniable.
Yeah.
The next logical question for anyone listening has got to be, okay, great, how do I get these amazing clients?
Yeah.
And maybe they're thinking it sounds complicated.
Yeah, and that's another myth we need to bust.
You're saying implementing referral strategies is actually simple.
Surprisingly so. I mean, yes, you could get complex, but it's really not necessary to start seeing results. It can be quite simple. Look, while researchers have identified something like 143 different specific referral strategies.
Wow, 143. That sounds complicated.
It does, but don't get hung up on the number. The focus should really be on maybe 10 fundamental universal strategies. And these core 10, they're generally very easy to implement.
Okay, like what? Give us an example.
Well, one of the simplest, most effective ones involves nothing more than a well-timed, genuine thank you note. Seriously.
A thank you note.
Yeah, to a happy client. You thank them sincerely for their business, maybe mention the positive outcome they got, and then subtly, gently invite them to share their experience if they know someone else who could benefit. No fancy tech, no big budget, just strategic appreciation.
Huh. That makes a lot of sense, actually. It respects that social cost thing we talked about. It's an invitation, not pressure.
Exactly. It empowers them, acknowledges their positive experience, and lowers the barrier to them thinking about who else might benefit.
So think about this. If you listening are already getting some referrals, maybe just randomly, without any real strategy.
Right, organic.
Imagine the impact. Imagine the growth, maybe even exponential growth, if you just put one or two of these simple proven strategies into action systematically.
It's honestly transformative for many businesses, and frankly, not having at least one deliberate referral-generating strategy in place, I'd argue it's almost a disservice.
A disservice. How so?
Well, a disservice to those potential clients out there who genuinely need what you offer, who could really benefit from your product or service, but they just don't know you exist yet. That referral could be the bridge they need.
That's a powerful way to frame it. And hopefully this deep dive gives everyone that basic understanding, that foundation, to actually start building that bridge.
That's the goal.
Okay, so let's quickly recap. Referral marketing.
Yeah.
It's not just some optional extra tactic. It's a really powerful, basically risk-free way to get sustainable, often rapid growth. How? By short-circuiting the trust-building process and attracting these incredibly high-value clients that cost effectively zero to acquire.
Well put. And maybe a final thought for everyone listening to mull over. Considering these stark differences we've talked about today, the difference between a client who walks in thanks to a referral versus one who clicked a random ad, what does that really mean for how you approach your own growth strategy?
Good question.
How can you start actively, systematically leveraging that instant purchase trust more effectively in your business, starting maybe even tomorrow?
Lots to think about there. And actually, that leads perfectly into our next deep dive. we're going to clarify something really important that trips up a lot of business owners. The difference between referral marketing, which we've discussed today, and word-of-mouth marketing.
Yes, they're often confused, but they're not the same thing at all.
Exactly. Word of mouth is often assumed to just happen, but we'll explore why that's different and perhaps less controllable than a dedicated referral strategy. So definitely join us next time for more insights on unlocking your business's full potential.